Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla News, episode 142. Tesla's earnings calls was so good that the short sellers are calling it impossible. And GM reveals their earnings as well and has admitted that they will make a big miss in 2023. And Ford loses money once again in Q3. And Tesla cuts prices in China and demand explode. And Elon makes the best live meme ever. And Stellantis CEO is making no sense once again. And Tesla has a wave coming for Europe in Q4. And I have a little surprise for you at the end of the video, so stick around for that. All of this and much more on today's episode. So let's dive right in.
Let's put our living stereo stylus in this groove.
Tesla's earnings were so good that haters and short sellers are calling it impossible. It must be fraud. They just don't get it. But luckily James Stefansson does get it and knows more about Tesla's finance and business than most other people. And he did a great video explaining why and how Tesla is able to increase their sales numbers and everything else, but not their SG&A, as someone like Mark Spiegel and Gordon Johnson didn't understand. The SG&A is selling, general and administrative expenses. But Elon has got paid a lot of CEO stock compensation because Tesla met most of their goals in the compensation plan in only like 5 years instead of 10 years as most people expected. So as you can see on James' chart here, the SG&A has gone up if you take out the CO2 stock compensation. But it was just such a big part of the numbers at the end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021. And Tesla also laid off a lot of people in Q2, so there was not expensive associated with them in Q3. And the growth in sales of cars does not go into the SG&A, it goes into the cost of sales expenses. So the short sellers and haters should really start following James so they can learn a thing or two about Tesla and not lose all their money shorting Tesla. And Tesla is down about 35% this year, but that is not just Tesla. There has been days where 99% of stocks has lost value, and this might have made you think, wait, I'm diversified, why is my portfolio getting wrecked? Because maybe we are not diversified in the right way. We need to find a modern solution, a 2022 way of diversifying. And sure, a single day does not make the market, and Tesla to me is a very long-term investment, but this is not just a buy the dip scenario for the entire stock market. We need to know what to buy. See, Goldman Sachs released a stock report saying the classic stock bond strategy won't be enough to keep investors afloat. I mean, look at this. It was down 20% this year alone. Forget day trading, value hunting and whatever. Like I said, 99% of stock lost value after the last rate hike. As a result, Goldman Sachs says the ideal allocation for stock has shrunk from 60% to 45%. So what do they recommend that you do with the difference in order to salvage your stolen returns? Invest in real assets like fine art. They say it can not only protect your purchase power, but the last time inflation was this high, from 1973 to 81, it appreciated at an average of 17.5% per year. That made it one of the only three things that gained value during that time. I have been talking about art's strength many times before on this channel. That is why I partnered up with Masterworks, that is sponsoring this video. They sold a painting just this month in October for a 21.5% net return for their investors. Can you name me an investment that delivered that kind of value right now? Not just in times like these, but for the last 26 years in a row. Contemporary art has outpaced the S&P 500 by 131%. Masterworks had to acquire and release more art on their platform to meet demand, and there is a waiting list. But you can skip that waiting list by using my link in the description below. I've been talking about Masterworks for most of this year, telling you guys this is the future of investment and a very good way for us Tesla long-term investors to diversify and get some net returns here and now. So go check out that link in the description below. GM reveals their earnings report, and it's not too bad, but there are some concerning numbers that we need to keep an eye on. GM had their earnings report come out this week and did a pretty good job, even though analysts called their revenue a miss. But again, GM almost had $42 billion in revenue, and last year in Q3 they only had about $26 billion. So I would say that's pretty good Q3 for GM there. And just because the analyst didn't guess correctly, they call it a miss, just like with Tesla. But I think GM is just a very good showcase of just how well Tesla is doing, because so many people are talking about how the old guys have so much money, but it's actually Tesla that is earning a lot of money compared to the legacy autos. As we can see, GM had $41.9 billion in revenue, almost twice as much as Tesla, by selling 1.5 million vehicles in Q3, about 4.5 times more than Tesla. But they both had $3.3 billion in net income. And year to date with Q3 numbers, Tesla had $8.86 billion in net income and GM had $7.89 billion. So the little car company is already earning more money than the big car company that makes more than 4 times as many vehicles. And that is why I made a whole video about how Tesla will probably become the most profitable car company in the world next year in net income, especially when we also see now the energy business starting to get some momentum. But GM did add about 110,000 units to its inventory in the US. So cars that is sold to dealers but not sold to customers yet. So they now have 359,000 units in inventory. So I do hope that's because they are building up inventory to make a big push at the end of the year, because that was a very big jump in that number. I hope it's not because fewer people wants to buy their ICE cars from GM, because then those numbers would be a very bad thing for GM. So let's keep an eye on those numbers in Q4. But nice to see that EV sales in the US is actually up, even though they only delivered 15,200 EVs in all of Q3. From the leader in the EV race that only had 1% of their cars being sold in Q3 being EVs. So 99% ICE cars from the self-proclaimed leader in the EV race. But General Motors said hiring and training delays in its battery and manufacturing efforts will push back its goal of building 400,000 EVs in North America by 2023, back 1 year to 2024. As Mary Barrett told the investors during the company's earnings call, all our 2023 launches are progressing well. So all the models that are coming. However, due to slightly slower launch of cell and pack production than we expected, our plan is now to produce 400,000 in North America over the course of 2022, 2023 and the first half of 2024. So what they did expect to do in just 1 year, in 2023, they will now do in 2.5 years instead. That is a big miss. But they don't change their target for 2025 of 1 million sales of EVs in the US. That does not make any sense. So they don't expect to have produced more than 400,000 EVs by mid-2024, including 2022 and 2023 numbers. And then, the year after, they expect to suddenly jump up to 1 million units. This does not make sense whatsoever. They are truly losing touch with reality, probably because they always get away with it. And why is no one reporting on this huge miss from GM? But if Tesla is only going to grow 49.9% this year, you can bet you that many analysts will call it a miss. But GM just dropped the ball completely and no one cares. And without saying it, GM has probably just dropped their target from 400,000 in 2023 to 150,000 units, because they will make about 50,000 units this year and 200,000 in the first half of 2024. So that will leave 150,000 in 2023. That is a miss of 62.5%, and no one is even raising an eyebrow. Just like GM promised us 18 EV models by October 2022, so now back in 2017. And that didn't happen either. This really shows us just how much hate Tesla gets from the analysts and mainstream media, but someone like GM can just do and say whatever they want without any consequences, and probably why they have lost the touch with reality. And Ford has also released their earnings report, but they are losing money again. So Ford released their earnings report as well, but they took a big hit on the bottom line because Ford and Volkswagen are shutting down their joint effort to develop full self-driving cars, the startup Argo AI. Ford said Wednesday that it had concluded that the large-scale profitable commercializing of self-driving cars was further out than expected. And Argo AI confirmed in a statement that it would be shutting down. And this kind of wrong investment is not something you do for free. Ford takes a $2.7 billion hit this quarter for shutting down Argo AI. But don't worry, you guys working there. I know Tesla's AI team is opening for hires. And Ford will probably just license full self-driving from Tesla when they get it all figured out. But Ford did deliver just over 1 million cars, had $39.4 billion in revenue, but lost $800 million in net profit. So in the red once again, the second time this year. So Ford and GM, despite having sold more than 3 or 4 times as many units as Tesla and have about twice the amount of revenue, Tesla is still leading the way in net profit. Ford is down this year with a minus of $3.2 billion. GM has $7.9 billion in net income and Tesla has $8.9 billion in net income. So just as I said in the beginning of the year, I thought Tesla had a chance of beating them both in net income in 2022. And it does look like this will be the case. So Tesla's first profitable year was 2020. And year to date, Tesla is more profitable than both GM and Ford combined, as Ford is not doing great here in 2022. And Tesla is going nowhere but up and will easily double last year's net income. My prediction is about $12.8 billion in net income this year for Tesla. Tesla did, as expected, cut their prices of their vehicles in China, and demand exploded so much that it crashed its website. But we also have to remember that Tesla has been raising prices through the last year, so if we look back at the prices at the end of 2021, you can see Tesla is pretty much just adjusting the prices back to before the increases. But as I have said many times before, if you lower the price about $5,000, you will double your addressable market. And Model Y long range did drop about $5,000, so that would mean the addressable market will have doubled. And the price drop of all the models were between $2,000 to $5,000. And the rear-wheel drive version got low enough to get the subsidies in China, so Tesla didn't lower that one very much, but the consumer will still get a big discount on this one because of the subsidies, so demand should have increased by quite a bit. And it did. As Ray for Tesla shared on Twitter, new orders online temporarily crashed the Tesla website. The Tesla sales representative advised buyers to contact her directly if order couldn't go through. Wow, so many people were just waiting for this price cut, so when it finally happened, so many people wanted to order a Tesla that it crashed Tesla's website. This is some pretty bullish news for Tesla's Q4 numbers. And the 12,000 yen subsidies on all Chinese EVs priced below 300,000 yen is set to expire by the end of this year. China's EV sales tax exception was extended until the end of 2023, but not the EV subsidies. So people that want to get the Model Y standard range that is now under 300,000 yen will have to buy it in Q4. Yeah, Tesla just made sure that their demand went up exponentially and should shatter any doubt about Tesla's demand in China here in Q4, and Tesla will still have the industry-leading margin on their cars. This is the flexibility power that no one else has but Tesla, because they are the only one that actually earning money on their EVs. This is just one lever that Tesla can pull to make more demand if they need to. They have so many other levers they have never yet had to use, like advertising, sponsorship, influencers, product placement, and much, much more. Remember, Tesla is growing faster than any other automaker ever without advertising. Tesla has so much that they can do if they ever need to raise demand. But so far, they're just trying to get the price down again for their cars. As Elon has said before, Tesla want to make their cars cheaper, but they still need to make sure they earn money and that the wait time doesn't get too crazy. So no no demand problem, and we will see record sales in China in Q4 for sure. As Tesla is also undercutting some of the homegrown Chinese rivals, the Model Y's starting price is now cheaper than the Xpeng G9 or the NIO ES6, and neither Xpeng or NIO is making money on their EVs, so they can't really lower the price. And Tesla is even making one more move to step down on the accelerator, as Tesla China introduced the new referral program. Recommending a friend to buy a Tesla, both you and your friend will receive 3,500 points each. Tesla owners who buys a new Tesla receive 7,000 points. Points can be exchanged to supercharging miles, merchandise, accessories, and software. So Tesla is now very well positioned to make a home run in China in Q4. But looking forward to Q4, it's going to be something really special, as Tesla is sending a lot of ships towards Europe. Tesla will have a powerful Q4 in Europe, as well as the number of delivered vehicles promised to be record high. According to a report, Giga Shanghai will send 15 ships loaded with left-hand drive Model 3 and Ys to Europe this quarter. So that will not be included any ships to UK that is right-hand drive. So they should also come this quarter as well. So these 15 ships should carry about 45,000 units to Europe. And then we still have some more cars coming to the UK as well. And on top of this, if Tesla can ramp up its production to 5,000 units by the last week of this year in the Berlin factory, there should come something like 45,000 units out of Berlin as well. So we are looking maybe close to 100,000 units that could be coming to the European market in Q4 if all is delivered. We don't have all the numbers yet for year to date in Europe, but something like 120,000 units should have been delivered so far. So if Tesla could deliver almost 100,000 more in just Q4, that would be a big increase from their sale numbers from last year that ended up being 161,000 units in Europe. And the demand is very strong here in Europe. Tesla is not cutting prices here. They have actually just raised their prices of the Model Y in many countries. As you can see here in my country, the long range and the performance Model Y is both gone up with about $1,500. And they are already by far the best-selling EV brand in Europe, and the Model Y has left everyone behind, with almost 65,000 units sold so far year to date. Remember, we have to take some of the unknown Teslas on the list here and add them to the Model Y and 3, and I put 20,000 on the Model Y and 15,000 on the Model 3. So Tesla should get over 100,000 Model Ys delivered in Europe this year. So that one model should deliver more units than the entire BMW brand or Mercedes or Audi. The Germans should really be shaking in their boots by this Model Y. Volkswagen should get over 100,000 units, but it kind of looks like they are going to be the only one. Even Renault, that last year delivered 96 units in Europe, is only about 40,000 units year to date. The reason is probably that the old king of Europe, the Renault Zoe, that sold 67,000 units in 2021, has year to date only delivered about 15,000 units. That little car has really felt the competition coming. Remember, it sold about 87,000 units back in 2020, so that car could see its sales drop about 75% this year compared to 2020. But the story is kind of the same with all the other old EVs like the Kona, the Neo, the e-tron, EQC, the I-Pace. The Jaguar I-Pace sales are almost gone. It went from 12,000 units sold in Europe in 2020 to 7,000 in 2021, and year to date it has sold 867 units. This award-winning electric car that came out in 2018 that can do software updates seemed to only sell about 1,000 units in Europe in 2022. And the Model Y seems to be able to sell about 100 times that. Even for the Volkswagen brand, it looks like it's going to be hard to get to last year's numbers of 160,000 units. Year to date, they are about 85,000 units. So for them to deliver 75,000 units in the last quarter seems like a very big task. So it looks like the European automakers are not doing so well in Europe. And now the Chinese are really starting to come in, as I talked about before, like the MG4 that seems like a much better bargain than the ID3 or any other European models, just as Top Gear has just said in their review of the MG4. When you dig into what the MG4 does for money, it's probably the only car in the class to recommend, and gave it 9 out of 10 in their reviews. Wow. Or as Matt from CarWow said, it's the best car he had driven all year. And even thought the interior looked better than the ID3 and felt better. Oh yeah, as I said in my video about the Germans being in trouble, their build quality is not premium with their EVs as it was with the ICE car. And Matt also had this to say.
I'm wondering, why are you going to pay extra for some of this car's competitors? I'm just not sure.
Yes, exactly. Like I've been saying, why would anyone buy the ID3 or any other EV in its class over the MG4? It's not a perfect car, the MG4, of course not, but it's just a damn good value for money. So with all the Chinese models that are coming over the next year or so, together with Tesla just ramping up like there's no tomorrow, what will the old guys do? And one of the old guys that is crying in the corner is Stellantis, as their CEO says Europe's EV drive comes with environmental and social risk. As he said in an interview with European newspaper, Stellantis CEO Carlos Tavares said the European Commission's strategy to phase out combustion engine in favor of the electric vehicle is a political choice that carries environmental and social risk. So that the Europeans want to ban ICE cars by 2035 is what he's complaining about. As he says, what is clear is that electrification is a technology chosen by politicians, not by industry. Well, I almost have to agree with that. It is not chosen by the industry, meaning not chosen by the legacy automakers. They wanted to continue to make polluting ICE cars for many years to come, polluting our cities with toxic gas, so no, not chosen by them. But because they have been forced by Tesla, that showed the way and showed that electric cars are feasible. And now they are stumbling to be able to rise fast enough to keep up with the demand for EVs. So chosen by the customers now. And yes, politician has helped with the EV incentives. And as he continued, given the European energy mix, an electric car needs to drive 70,000 kilometers to compensate for the carbon footprint of manufacturing the battery and to start catching up with the light hybrid vehicles, which cost half as much as an EV. In my country, studies have shown that it's more likely like 30,000 kilometers. But no matter what, I have been driving my Tesla for 145,000 kilometers in 3.5 years, so my electric car is already much cleaner than any ICE car or hybrids out there by a long shot. Also because in Denmark our energy mix is quite clean, and this will only improve all over the world. So looking into the future with yesterday's numbers does not make any sense, Carlos. But again, the average car does travel about 250,000 kilometers in its lifespan. So no matter what, if it's 30,000 or 70,000 kilometers, Carlos, an EV will be cleaner in its lifetime. So a really dumb argument you're coming with here. And Carlos also seems to forget that the battery in the EV will be recycled. So the CO2 emission from the mining of the material will only come once, and then we can recycle the battery materials in those batteries for the next 100 years or more, as we only lose about 5%, and the lifespan of a battery is 15 to 20 years in a car. So even after, let's say, 6 recycles of 15 years each, so about 90 years from now, we will still have about 77% left of the materials we dug up from the ground for that one battery and have been used in 6 cars by now. I guess Carlos is not putting that into his calculation either. And yes, you have to move fast now, as he said, but not if you actually started the EV transition back in 2012 together with Tesla, as they showed off the Model S. You would not have been in such a hurry then, but you chose not to. So that one is on you, my friend. And he also said he doesn't think that EV will be profitable in 2035. And that is why they will continue to be only for the middle and upper class. but Tesla has already shown that their cars make more money in the premium EVs than what Stellantis make in profits on their premium ICE cars. And now BYD seems to also join the list of automakers that will become profitable with EVs. BYD estimates that the net profits for Q3 come in between $765 million to $820 million, an increase of 333% to 365% from the same period last year. BYD said its huge jump in vehicle sales had released the pressure brought on by the increase in raw materials cost, though it did rise the prices on some models as much as 6,000 yuan. So the economy of scale seems to be working here, helping BYD to now become profitable, only selling BEVs and plug-in hybrids, as they have sold about 1.2 million plug-in vehicles this year so far, and about half of that being BEVs, so about 600,000 BEVs year to date. So maybe Stellantis should just try to get to those numbers before they start crying in the corner, as they have in the first half of 2022 globally as a group. Remember, this is an automotive group, not a brand. Sold only 136,000 BEVs. Of course you're not profitable, my friend. We unfortunately won't get the Q3 results before the 3rd of November, but we now have Tesla and BYD actually making profits selling pure BEVs, and Tesla has just announced that they will cut their production cost in half by the next EV platform, which I expect to be ready by 2024, so maybe Stellantis can't make it work by 2040, but Tesla and the Chinese certainly will. Yeah. This is not the man you want to be steering your ship into the future that seems to have no idea what's going on. And let's get our monthly update about Tesla's Giga Factories. That means handing it over to Brian from My Tesla Weekend. Take it away, Brian.
Hey, Lars. Well, in Shanghai this month, the Northwest Utility Building is done. That little extension we saw in the Central Corridor, also done. There's now quite a bit of solar panels on the roof. The extension there at the southwest corner, kind of a strange choice of where to put them. The most busy roof, the most panels. Very good then. In Berlin, there's new grading to the far north. This will probably become loading or a lot of some sort. The stamping extension at the north has had quite a bit more work done. They're getting the forms it poured now. It is taking shape. At the south end, the employee parking lot is being substantially reworked. The road extension is getting expanded and widened, and they've got the center divider in there. To the southeast, the parking is getting better. There's even some more EV chargers over there. The sprung structure by the Motorworks building is done. At the southeast corner, the Tesla logo is in place, and the drainage ponds are operational. And there's more logistics going in the northeast. Look at that, a choo-choo. In Texas, the northeast kind of area, just north of the entrance, there's docks, loading docks that have been kind of finalized. There's more dock rework to the south of that area, and the south loading lot is being torn up. So the south employee gravel area, where some employees had been parking, is now part of the warehouse on wheels. And that's because the north of the warehouse on wheels itself has been emptied. Perhaps they're going to pave this soon. There's geopiering going on to the west of the cathode building, and the cathode building itself is looking great. Its walls are closing off. It's got heavy foundations inside. Most of the concrete work is done. There's drainage going on outside. On the west side, the walls are almost halfway done, and there's even a bunch of rebar on this outside area. The switchyard progress is unmistakable. A month ago it was just level ground, and now it's got a lot of equipment and materials put in place. And the south end of the far west side, there's been more pond work and clearing work. And on the roof, the solar expansion is moving at a breakneck snail's pace. Very slow. A little bit of expansion between the letters E and S, and that is about it. Back to you, Lars.
Thank you so much for that update, Brian. See you next month. And let's squeeze in the last short news topics into this new show. Yes, it's time for the Tesla Shorts. And we got some improvement in software coming with a new over-the-air update. In the update, 40.1, Tesla improved vehicle charging capabilities, resulting in faster charging time. The company also reduced the energy cost with the update. Improving the charging efficiency might have also improved the vehicle's range. Nice. And you can now activate Sensory mode and Dog mode at the same time, so Sensory mode's alarms are silenced if the Dog mode and Sensory mode are both enabled. And we had a new law being made in the EU this week for the EV charging infrastructure. The EU Parliament passed a law on Wednesday that requires member states to have charging station every 60 kilometers on primary road sections. Nice. The members of the Parliament also demands that by 2027 the EU must have a common overview of all charging stations, including availability, waiting time and prices. Something Tesla already has, of course. And at the same time, the new rules implies it must also be possible to charge hydrogen cars for every 100 kilometers on main road as well. I personally think this will be a waste of money, as I just made a whole video on this, as no one is really buying hydrogen cars, so these hydrogen stations will be empty and a waste of resources. And Toyota is considering a reboot of their electric car strategy to better compete in the booming EV market. As I also talked about in my recent video about Nissan's fall, this could actually slow them a bit down, as they have to halt some of their EV projects now to rethink the whole EV strategy. In 2022, the review was triggered in part by realization by some of Toyota's engineers and executives that Toyota was losing the factory cost war to Teslas on EVs, a source said to Reuters. Yet another pivotal moment in history, as the automaker that has been known for its production capabilities and is now saying Tesla has the upper hand in the cost of producing EVs over Toyota. Wow. Toyota's planning had assumed that EVs would not take off for several decades. I mean, talk about having your head buried in the sand. But what drives this new effort for new EV strategy is the EV's faster than anticipated takeoff and rapid fire adoption of cutting-edge innovations by Tesla and others. I am afraid Toyota is waking up a little bit too late to not go bankrupt, in my opinion, but at least they're starting to wake up and trying to get into the game. And an EV reliability survey completed in China has listed the Tesla Model Y and the Tesla Model 3 as two of the most reliable electric vehicles on the Chinese market. And BYD is actually not doing very well here. It is one of the car makers with the most complaints, so that is not good and something they have to address. But nice to see Tesla with the lowest amount of complaints. And the Tesla Semi lands EPA green light to begin deliveries. Oh yes, everything is getting ready for December deliveries to Pepsi. And I reported back in August that there was problem with the Hummer EV high voltage connectors that could allow water into the battery pack. The automaker is facing another similar problem. Apparently, water could still get into the Hummer EV battery pack due to improper sealing, which could cause the vehicle to either not start or suddenly lose power during operation. Oh, that is not good. GM still has big trouble producing EVs. It's one step forward and two steps back. And Tesla is offering autopilot cameras upgrade to owners who have full self-driving capability and early production cameras. Tesla's offers comes right before Tesla's wide release of full self-driving beta. And Elon has now bought Twitter and is now chief tweet on Twitter, and he did visit Twitter this week and made a live meme. Let that one sink in. That was funny. And there might be some at Twitter that are afraid of getting fired now, but they did seem to enjoy Elon's company at the coffee bar at Twitter. And Stephen McRyan did tweet about Twitter not implementing a YouTube clone. If users could watch monetized video on Twitter, Twitter could capture ad revenues and massively increase. And Elon replied with a blinking emoji. But this should not come as a surprise, as Elon has said this before.
Buys Twitter, copies WeChat.
Yeah, pretty much. Yes.
And Porsche is to make tri-motor Taycan to compete with the Tesla Model S Plaid. It is not clear when the new tri-motor version of the Taycan will hit the market, but it will be interesting to see if it pushes Tesla to have a response when it does, maybe in the shape of a Tesla Roadster, the true competitor to the Porsche Taycan. And Tesla is gearing up for mass production of their Mega Packs, as Tesla on LinkedIn also shared a video about their Mega Pack factory. But Tesla's Mega Factory in California has opened a large recruitment for dozens of new positions, most of them being in production. And apparently they are already making good progress, as the factory has a capacity to produce 25 Mega Packs in one day. However, deployment won't be complete until the fourth quarter or even 2023. But we are already in the fourth quarter, so maybe we will see some very good numbers for Tesla's energy storage in Q4. Nice. And reports from Germany indicate that Tesla is preparing for major expansion of the Gigafactory Berlin, so getting ready for the second phase of the factory to probably double production output. This will of course take a lot of time to clear the trees and build the second part of the factory, but very bullish news to see Tesla already taking the next step for the Giga Berlin factory, and should scare the German automakers even more. And are you ready for this? Why is this man the richest man on the planet? What is this man doing that will make the world exciting? How will his companies impact your future? Everything you ever wanted to know about Elon Musk is now available in this amazing book. Why will Tesla soon be the largest company in the history of the world? And will there really be cars driving themselves anytime soon? And what is Starlink and the Starship? Will you be traveling to the moon and Mars in your lifetime? And will Elon Musk become the world's first trillionaire? All the answers in this page-turner, the Elon Musk mission. Make the future awesome. Click the link below to get your paperback, Kindle or audiobook now. And before we end up with a bit of fun, I just want to make a quick shout out to my new patrons and members of this new show. My new patrons: Jakob Neb, IBM Cobalt Fan, Huge O'Neill, and Robert McEvan. Thank you so much for all your support. I am doing this all by myself, but you guys are all the producers of this new show. Thank you. And a big and special thanks to Supporter of the Week, and this week's winner is Paul Payne. Paul has been a patron of mine, not continuously, but he was the first patrons I ever got for this channel. Thank you so much, Paul, for sticking around for almost 3 years now. Thank you so much. Very much appreciated. I will contact you on Patreon. In the meantime, check out the merch store to find out the t-shirt or mug you would like to have for free, and I will send it to you. And let's end off with a bit of fun. Remember, you always have to try. If you fail, try again. That is all we have time for in this new show. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps this video out a lot so others can find it on YouTube. And if you did like it, maybe you want to consider hitting that subscribe button, notification bell, so you don't miss out on future videos just like this one. If you're already a subscriber, thank you so much for your support. And if you want to support the channel even more, remember you can, for as little as $1, become a patron of this channel and get your shout out on this show. You can also become a member of the YouTube channel to get a shout out and some extra perks. Hit the members button to find out more. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter. I tweet all the news as it comes out and more. And check out the merch store to get some merchandise and support the show. Now it's also possible to support the show without buying anything, becoming a member or a patron. There is a link to a donation options in the show notes. And also as simple as hitting the super like button. But going forward, I will be making more videos for patrons and members only. And I will give my YouTube members and patrons early access to my videos whenever possible and make my videos ads free for members and patrons only. So don't miss out. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.